How to Think Like a High Achiever. Written and published by Mindset Masters Audiobooks, Part 1. The Thinking Gap Between Average and High Performers. Myths. High achievement doesn't start with talent, background, or even opportunity. It starts with thought. The real gap between those who excel and those who stay stuck is how they think. Before the habits, the strategies, the work ethic, there's a mindset. And that mindset determines everything. High achievers don't just do more. They see differently, interpret differently, and respond differently to the world around them. They think in terms of responsibility, not blame. Growth, not comfort. Possibility, not limitation. This is the foundation we begin with. The way you think drives the way you live. The average person often thinks reactively. Their thoughts are shaped by circumstances, by mood, by what's going on around them. If something goes wrong, they spiral. If something feels uncertain, they freeze. They wait for motivation to appear before taking action. But high achievers, they lead their thoughts, they don't follow them. To think like a high achiever, you must take control of your mental narrative. You have to challenge autopilot thinking and build intentional thought patterns that align with growth, clarity, and long-term vision. Ask yourself, what do I believe about myself right now? Where did that belief come from? And is it serving the future I want to create? Because high achievers understand this key truth. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your mindset. That's why the internal game comes first. They are obsessed with mental inputs, what they read, who they listen to, what they reflect on. They intentionally feed their brain with content, people and conversations that sharpen their perspective and fuel their belief. And when adversity comes, because it always does, they don't collapse mentally. They adjust, they evaluate, they extract the lesson. They know that every challenge is a mirror revealing something inside that needs to grow. That's the power of mental resilience. Not pretending things are easy, but choosing to stay in control of your response no matter what happens. To start thinking like a high achiever, you must shift from passive consumption to active reflection. Don't just read, apply. Don't just listen, act. Don't just plan, decide. You become a high-level thinker by questioning your assumptions and deliberately upgrading them. This is the thinking gap. Average minds ask, can I handle this? High-achieving minds ask, how do I rise to this? It's not about being fearless. It's about being mentally prepared. That preparation starts by training your thoughts every day. Journaling, reviewing, getting brutally honest about the stories you tell yourself, and rewriting them with clarity and strength. So, as you begin this journey, remember, your actions are only as strong as the thoughts behind them. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be aware, because awareness leads to choice, and choice leads to transformation. From this point on, you are no longer a passive participant in your own thinking. You are the author, the architect, the filter, and you get to decide what kind of thinker you will become. This is where high performance truly begins. Part 2. Reprogramming the mind for growth and performance. If you want to think like a high achiever, you must begin by realizing something most people never consider. Your current thought patterns are not final. They are programmed. And more importantly, they can be reprogrammed. The way you think today, your attitudes, your assumptions, your emotional responses didn't appear by accident. They were shaped by your environment, by the people around you, by childhood experiences, by school, by culture, by failure, by praise, and by repetition. That's the first major shift. Your thinking is not who you are. It's who you've been trained to be. And what has been trained can be retrained. High achievers understand this. They don't accept mental limitations as truth. They recognize them as conditioning, and so they dedicate themselves to reconditioning their mind, on purpose, every single day. The two operating systems, fixed versus growth. One of the first mental upgrades you must make is identifying whether you're operating from a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. This concept, popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck, is not just academic, It's deeply practical. A fixed mindset believes that intelligence, talent, and ability are static, that you either have it or you don't. That success proves your worth, and failure exposes your limits. A growth mindset, on the other hand, believes that all skills, including thinking, focus, and discipline, can be developed. That effort matters. That setbacks are feedback. That challenge is an opportunity to evolve. Most people are unknowingly trapped in a fixed mindset, even if they claim otherwise. You can hear it in the language they use. I've never been good at that. I just can't focus. That's not who I am. I always mess things up. These are not facts. They are programmed thoughts, and high achievers learn to spot them quickly and rewire them intentionally. So how do you start reprogramming? Step 1. Identify your default beliefs. Every person walks through life with a silent operating system in the background. These are the default beliefs, deep assumptions that guide how you interpret everything. Most of them are unconscious, but they influence everything: your confidence, your risk tolerance, your reaction to feedback, and your sense of possibility. High achievers engage in deep self-auditing. They regularly pause to ask, what do I believe about myself in this area? Where did that belief come from? Is it helping me or holding me back? What belief would serve me better? For example, someone might believe I'm bad with people, but where did that come from? A few awkward social moments? Criticism from a teacher or parent? Is it a truth, or just a story they've repeated so long that it feels true? High achievers challenge these beliefs. They understand that if you don't question your programming, you'll keep reliving the same life over and over, no matter how much you want it to change. Step 2. Install new mental language. The brain responds to language. The words you use internally don't just describe reality, they shape it. When you tell yourself, I'm overwhelmed, your brain responds accordingly. It slows down, it looks for exits. But when you say, this is a challenge and I'm built for challenges, your brain looks for solutions instead. High achievers use empowering language with precision. They replace I can't with how can I. They replace I don't know with I'm learning. They replace I failed with I'm refining. They replace this is hard with this is strengthening me. This is not about blind optimism. It's about accurate, empowering framing. It's about choosing language that keeps you in motion instead of stuck in fear or frustration. Start listening to the words you use, especially when you're under pressure. Then, replace disempowering narratives with those that reflect strength, ownership, and growth. Step 3. Install the habit of mental rehearsal. Elite performers, from athletes to CEOs to special forces, use mental rehearsal. It's the practice of visualizing yourself handling pressure, succeeding, and executing with clarity before it happens in real life. Why? Because the brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagined and real experience. Visualization activates the same neural pathways as the action itself. That means when you mentally rehearse, you're training, even without movement. High achievers use this tool deliberately. They see themselves walking into a high-stakes meeting and staying calm. They see themselves pushing through the last rep at the gym. They see themselves delivering the speech, making the call, closing the deal with full presence and control. This kind of mental preparation builds familiarity, and familiarity reduces fear. It creates the feeling that I've been here before, even if it's your first. Make it a daily ritual. Take 3-5 minutes each morning to mentally rehearse the person you want to be today. See yourself acting with focus, composure, clarity, and power. Over time, that identity becomes less of a concept and more of your default. Step 4. Upgrade your internal standards. One of the most radical shifts high achievers make is this: they raise their internal standards, not in a loud, arrogant way, but in a quiet, resolute way that says, this is who I am now. This is how I operate. I don't need someone to watch me. I don't need external pressure. I lead myself. Average thinkers operate based on how they feel. If they're tired, they skip the workout. If they're uninspired, they don't create. If they're unsure, they stall. High achievers are driven by standards, not mood. They've installed an internal rulebook, and that rulebook creates consistency, even when circumstances are inconsistent. To begin this shift, choose one area of your life where your standard is low. Write out the new standard clearly and simply. I write every day for 45 minutes. Or I don't scroll on my phone before noon. Track it daily. Measure your follow-through. Do it quietly, not for applause, not for validation, but because your identity has changed. Over time, these small internal standards become the invisible structure that carries your results forward, even when motivation fades. Step 5. Expose yourself to higher thinking. You cannot outgrow your environment, and you cannot think like a high achiever if you are constantly surrounded by low-level input. What you allow into your mind will shape what your mind produces. Period. High achievers are obsessive about mental input curation. They don't just consume content, they filter it with intention. Here's what that means in practice. Audit your media diet. Cut out toxic news, clickbait, shallow conversations, and comparison-driven social content. Replace it with books that challenge your assumptions, thinkers who stretch your vision, and conversations that sharpen your edge. Spend less time scrolling and more time reflecting, less time reacting and more time planning. Your environment is not just physical, it's mental. Your mental environment is either nourishing your ambition or numbing it. Choose what enters that space with care, and whenever possible, get around people who think bigger than you do, not just in income, but in discipline, vision, and intentionality. Even one conversation with someone operating at a higher level can shift your entire direction. Step 6. Rewire how you respond to failure. One of the most powerful mindset traits of high achievers is their relationship with failure. They don't avoid it, they don't fear it, they don't see it as a verdict on their ability. Instead, they respect failure as part of the refinement process. They study it, they extract a tantrum, they use it to recalibrate, not retreat. When something doesn't go as planned, average thinkers spiral into doubt and avoidance. High achievers, however, ask a different set of questions. What specifically didn't work? What decision led to that? What would I do differently with the same inputs? What does this reveal about what I need to learn? This mindset makes them dangerous in the best way, because they don't fear setbacks, they leverage them. Start training this response in small ways. If a habit slips, don't beat yourself up. Reflect, reframe, and reset. If a project fails, don't avoid it. Study it. Find the data. Find the gap. Find the lesson. Failure only owns those who give up their curiosity. High achievers stay curious, stay engaged, and stay committed, especially when it's hard. Step 7. Repetition. 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 Reprogramming your mind is not a one-time insight. It is daily work. The brain learns through repetition with emotional intensity. That means the more often you reinforce an idea, especially when it matters emotionally, the more deeply that idea gets wired into your subconscious. High achievers don't just know empowering principles, they revisit them constantly. They read the same books again. They journal about the same themes. They rehearse their values and mantras daily. That's how new thinking becomes automatic thinking. That's how belief becomes identity. You must do the same. Choose the thoughts, ideas, and principles you want to live by. Write them, speak them, visualize them, act on them, again and again and again until they no longer feel like affirmations, but like facts. Final thoughts. Reprogramming your mind is not about becoming someone you're not. It's about peeling away the layers of fear, conditioning, and limitation that never belonged to you in the first place. It's about returning to who you really are. Focused, capable, relentless, clear. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You are not behind. You're in the process of building something most people never even realize is possible. A mind that works for you, not against you. This is how high achievers are made. Not through one big breakthrough, but through small daily mental upgrades. Not through hype, but through discipline. Not through outside approval, but through internal rewiring. From this day forward, you don't just think like everyone else. You think with purpose. You think with clarity. You think like a high achiever. And soon your results will reflect it. Part 3. Identity thinking. Becoming the person who succeeds at. One of the most powerful mental shifts a high achiever makes is this. Success isn't something I chase. It's something I They stop asking, what do I need to do? And start asking, who do I need to be? This is the identity level of thinking. It's the deepest layer of mindset transformation, and it's the layer most people never reach. The average person builds goals based on outcomes. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to make 6 figures. I want to start a business. But high achievers go one level deeper. They build their life around identity. I'm the kind of person who trains daily. I'm someone who creates value and owns my results. I'm a builder, not a talker. This matters because your identity, the story you're yourself about who you are, will always override your goals if the two don't match. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you will sabotage discipline. If you see yourself as someone who never finishes, you'll always find a reason to stop. If you see yourself as someone who's not good enough, you will unconsciously reject opportunities that require belief. This is why thinking like a high achiever starts with identity, because once your identity shifts, your behavior shifts permanently. Let's go deep into how to build this new internal foundation. Section 1. Understand the layers of behavior. Every behavior you engage in, every action, habit, or response has a root, and that root is almost always psychological. Here's how the layers break down. Descartes. 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 The results you want: lose weight, earn money, build a brand. Processes, the systems or habits you use to achieve those outcomes. Most people try to change outcomes without addressing process, and they try to change process without changing identity. That's why progress feels like pushing a boulder uphill. It's working against their self-image. High achievers reverse it. Then they build new processes aligned with that identity. Finally, those processes drive outcomes naturally. You don't force consistency when you identify as a consistent person. You don't struggle to focus when your identity is tied to being focused. It becomes how you live, not just what you try to do. Section 2. Audit the old identity. Before you build a new identity, you must identify the one you've been operating from. Often unconsciously, ask yourself, Descartes, what kind of person do I believe I am when no one's watching? What labels have I attached to myself over the years? What patterns keep showing up in my behavior, and what belief might be fueling them? You may discover internal stories like, I'm not a morning person. I'm not a disciplined person. I've always struggled with follow-through. I'm the type who gets excited but never finishes. These are identity statements, not facts but rehearsed beliefs. And here's the key. Every time you act in a way that confirms those beliefs, the identity becomes stronger. That's how the cycle continues. But the cycle can be broken. The moment you begin challenging the narrative, you weaken it. And the moment you act in alignment with a new identity, you strengthen the new story. So start there. Audit and question. Bring those assumptions into the light, and prepare to replace them. Section 3. Design the new identity. High achievers are not only intentional with their actions, they are intentional with their self-image. They don't let the world define who they are. They ask yourself, what kind of person would already have the results I want? What would that version of me believe, say, and do daily? If I already were that person, how would I think, move, and respond to adversity? Write it down clearly. Your new identity might look like, I'm a disciplined executor who finishes what I start. I'm a builder. I create value before seeking results. I train my mind every day because my future depends on it. I am calm under pressure. I don't react. I respond. The key is specificity. Don't write generic affirmations. Write behavior-linked beliefs that you will live into. And understand this truth. You don't need to fully believe the new identity to begin. Belief comes through evidence, and evidence comes through repetition. Section 4. Act into the identity. Once you've designed your new identity, the fastest way to make it real is this. Take daily actions that align with it, even if they feel small. If you want to be the kind of person who trains daily, your first action is not a 90-minute session. It's showing up every day, even for 15 minutes. If you want to be a focused builder, your first move is not building a company overnight. It's creating an hour of deep distraction-free work every day. Every time you act in alignment with the new identity, you cast a vote for that version of yourself. And eventually the new you becomes the real you. The actions don't need to be dramatic. They just need to be non-negotiable. And the most powerful part, you stop needing willpower. Because once identity takes root, consistency becomes effortless. You're not trying to be disciplined. You are disciplined. This is why identity-first thinking is so powerful. It reshapes the foundation instead of just rearranging the furniture. Section 5. Language, labels and identity traps. Be careful what you say after the words I. They are the two most powerful words in your vocabulary, because they shape identity instantly. I'm lazy. I'm bad with money. I'm not creative. I'm a procrastinator. These are not casual statements. They are instructions to your brain. Instructions to behave in a certain way, and your brain will follow them. High achievers are ruthless. With language, they never say things that contradict their identity. Even if they struggle, they reframe it. Instead of I'm bad at this, they say, I'm learning this. Instead of I'm a procrastinator, they say, I'm working on being more consistent. Instead of I'm stuck, they say, I'm figuring this out. It's not just semantics. It's programming. The words you use become the lens through which you live. So choose them like your future depends on it. Because it does. Section 6. Identity is strengthened in adversity. Anyone can act aligned when things are smooth. But identity is tested and reinforced when pressure comes. That's why high achievers don't run from adversity. They embrace it as a chance to prove their identity to themselves. When the alarm goes off early, and you don't want to move, that's the moment. When the workout feels heavy, and your mind says quit, that's the moment. When your plan fails, and you want to shut down, that's the moment. It's in those moments that your identity either strengthens or dissolves. High achievers decide in advance. When I feel resistance, that's my cue, not to stop, but to lean in, because that's who I am. This is not about perfection. It's about over time. With enough repetition, you become someone who doesn't just chase achievement, you embody it. Section 7. Environment shapes identity. Your identity is not created in isolation. It's shaped by the environment you choose. Want to accelerate identity transformation? Surround yourself with people, inputs, and spaces that reflect the version of you that you're building. Be around people who already live at that level. Read books by thinkers who reflect the mindset you want to install. Spend time in spaces that match your standards. Clean, focused, intentional. This isn't just about motivation. It's about saturation. When your environment reinforces your identity, it becomes easier to stay in alignment. Be intentional. If you want to become a focused builder, stop spending hours with people who complain, distract, or stay stuck. If you want to be calm and strategic, limit your exposure to noise, urgency, and reactivity. Your external environment will always influence your internal identity. Shape it with precision. Section 8. Keep a record of identity evidence. One of the fastest ways to strengthen identity is to keep a daily record of your alignment. At the end of each day, ask, what did I do today that aligned with the person I'm becoming? What behavior reflected the mindset of a high achiever? What's one win, no matter how small, that I can acknowledge? This daily evidence builds trust. Trust leads to belief, and belief hardens into identity. The more you see yourself behaving as the person you want to be, the more real that person becomes. Most people only track outcomes, but high achievers track identity alignment, because they know that results follow character, and character is built one aligned action at a time. Final section. Becoming is a daily practice. You don't arrive at identity, you reinforce it every day. You don't wait until you feel ready. You act until you feel ready. You act until it becomes automatic. This is the real work of thinking like a high achiever, clarifying who you are becoming, showing up with that standard, measuring your alignment, adjusting when you slip, and never outsourcing your self-definition to the world. Most people try to change their life from the outside in. High achievers change from the inside out, because when you change who you believe you are, your entire life begins to reflect it. So the question is not, can I succeed? The question is, am I willing to become the kind of person who does? And if the answer is yes, then everything changes. You are not your past pattern. You are not your old identity. You are who you decide to become, starting now. And that decision, repeated with action, creates transformation. Part 4. Mastering Emotional Control, the Inner Power of Peak Performers. Success is not only about strategy. It's not just about what you know or even what you do. At the highest levels, what separates high achievers from everyone else is their emotional control. They don't just control their time. They don't just control their habits. They learn to control themselves, especially their emotions. And that emotional self-mastery is what allows them to stay calm in chaos, make clear decisions under pressure, bounce back from failure, and lead from a position of strength instead of stress. In this chapter, we'll go deep into the art and science of emotional control. You'll learn how to master your state, detach from chaos, and operate with power when others are reacting with fear. This is how high performers protect their edge. Section 1. The cost of emotional reactivity. Let's start with the truth. Most people are emotionally reactive. They live in reaction to the world around them. When things go well, they're up. When things go wrong, they're down. Their internal world is a mirror of their external environment. That means their performance is unstable. Their relationships are unpredictable. Their confidence rises and falls with circumstances. In this state, even a small setback feels like a major derailment. High achievers know this is edginess. Why? Because if you don't control your emotions will control your focus. And when focus is lost, decisions are compromised. When decisions are compromised, your results suffer. Reactivity kills progress. It hijacks energy. It distorts thinking. And it creates unnecessary drama. High achievers don't just want results. They want repeatable, sustainable results. And that requires emotional stability. Section 2. Emotional control is a trained skill. Contrary to what most people believe, emotional control isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's not about pretending everything is fine or denying pain. It's about learning how to observe, regulate, and respond instead of react. This means you learn to notice the emotion before it takes over. You learn to create space between the trigger and the response. You learn to act from principle, not from panic. This is not a gift. It's a trained skill. And like any skill, it can be built with practice. The key is self-awareness. You cannot control what you do not notice. So the first step is learning how to track your emotional states throughout the day. Not to judge them, but to study them. Ask yourself, when do I feel most triggered? What situations make me react? What physical signals show up when I'm stressed or anxious? What story am I telling myself when I feel frustrated or overwhelmed? High achievers treat their emotions like data. Every emotional spike is a signal, a chance to learn, not just react. Section 3. Creating the space to choose. There is a split-second moment between stimulus and response. Most people never see it. High achievers live in it. This is the power of the gap, the pause, the breath, the moment of stillness between what happens and how you respond. In that space, everything changes. You can choose not to send the angry text. You can choose not to raise your voice. You can choose not to catastrophize the situation. You can choose to remain calm and lead. This doesn't happen by accident. It happens through training. One of the most powerful ways to develop this gap is through mindfulness. The deliberate practice of observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. You don't need to become a monk. Start small. Take 3 deep breaths before responding to anything emotionally charged. At the start of your day, sit in silence for 5 minutes and just observe your thoughts. When emotion arises, name it. This is frustration. This is fear. This is impatience. Naming it gives you power over it. The more you practice this, the more you grow the part of your mind that watches instead of reacts. And that's where control lives. Section 4. Reframing emotion as energy. High achievers don't fear emotion. They channel it. They see emotion as energy. And energy can be directed, shaped, and used for a purpose. Anger, when untrained, becomes destruction. But anger, when focused, becomes drive. Fear, when uncontrolled, becomes paralysis. But fear, when understood, becomes caution and awareness. Sadness, when unprocessed, becomes stagnation. But sadness, when explored, can produce empathy and clarity. You are not your emotions, but your emotions are powerful tools, if you learn to work with them. So instead of asking, how do I stop feeling, high achievers ask, what is this feeling trying to teach me? How can I channel it toward my mission? Every emotion contains information. Every reaction is an opportunity for leadership. This shift from resisting emotion to using it is what turns emotional chaos into emotional power. Section 5. The emotional routines of high achievers. Just like physical health requires habits, emotional control requires routines. Here are some of the daily emotional hygiene habits used by top performers. Morning state check. Before diving into work, they ask, what emotional state am I in right now? What state do I need to be in to win today? What will I do to get into that state? They don't leave their emotional state to chance. They set it with intention, whether through meditation, movement, journaling, breathwork, or silence. 2. Trigger awareness journal. They track what throws them off and why. Over time, patterns emerge. A certain email tone triggers insecurity. A particular conversation creates defensiveness. A lack of sleep causes irritability. By tracking, they create intervention points. When it happens again, they're ready. 3. Evening reflection. They review the day and ask, where did I stay emotionally strong? Where did I slip into reactivity? What can I do differently tomorrow? This self-review turns every day into a feedback loop. And feedback leads to mastery. 4. One emotion rule. High performers often use the one emotion principle. When chaos hits, they ask, what is the one emotion I need to lead with right now? That could be calm, confidence, curiosity, patience. They don't try to feel perfect. They just pick the right emotion for the moment and lead with that. Section 6. Responding to stress with clarity. Stress is inevitable, but how you think about stress determines how it affects you. High achievers don't view stress as a threat. They view it as activation, a signal that something matters, a call to rise, not retreat. Instead of saying, this is overwhelming, they say, this is an opportunity to get stronger. This is stretching me into someone more capable. This is the price of playing at a high level. They reframe stress as fuel, and they don't resist pressure. They prepare for it. Want to train this mindset? When you feel stress building, pause and say, this is a high-performance moment. I am exactly where I need to be. Then ask, what can I control right now? What's the next best move? How can I lead through this, not escape it? Clarity under pressure comes from repeated exposure and repeated reframing. Section 7. Emotional detachment for strategic thinking. Emotion is valuable, but too much emotional attachment clouds your judgment. That's why high achievers practice strategic detachment. They learn to step back, zoom out, and evaluate the big picture, even in emotionally charged moments. This means they don't make major decisions at emotional peaks or valleys. They don't let temporary feelings dictate long-term direction. They don't tie their worth to short-term wins or losses. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means creating enough space to think clearly. When facing a challenge, they ask, if I were advising someone else in this situation, what would I tell them? If I wasn't emotionally hooked, what would the most strategic move be? That outside perspective creates distance, and distance creates wisdom. You can practice this by keeping a decision journal. When emotions run high, write out the situation, the feelings you're experiencing, the options in front of you, the best choice based on values, not emotion. Over time, this process strengthens your inner executive. You become less reactive, more deliberate, more powerful. Section 8. Leading others with emotional stability. If you want to lead, coach, inspire, or build, your emotional state becomes the thermostat for the people around you. People don't follow titles. They follow energy. They follow stability. They follow calm in chaos. High achievers understand that emotional control isn't just for them, it's for the people they influence. In high-pressure situations, people look to the calmest voice in the room. If that voice is yours, you gain instant credibility, influence, and trust. So when the environment is tense, slow your speech, lower your voice, breathe deeper, ask questions instead of making accusations. Your presence becomes the anchor, and that makes you invaluable. Final section. Emotional control is self-leadership. At its core, emotional control is not about avoiding emotion, it's about leading yourself well. It's the quiet, invisible edge that elevates every area of performance. It makes your mind more focused. It improves your relationships. It strengthens your discipline. It multiplies your leadership. This is what high achievers do. They feel deeply. They choose wisely. They train consistently. They lead from within. And the result is not just external success, but internal peace. From this day forward, choose to lead your emotions. Don't follow them. Don't suppress them. Don't fear them. Lead them. Because the more you lead yourself, the more powerful your presence becomes. And that, more than any tactic or tool, is what separates the average from the elite. Part 5. Building relentless discipline. Becoming unstoppable. One day at a time, discipline is the bridge between potential and achievement. It's the invisible thread that connects your goals to your results. And high achievers know this. Without discipline, ambition is just noise. While most people treat discipline like a momentary push, something you do when you feel like it, high achievers treat discipline as a personal identity. It's who they are, not just what they do. They don't wait for inspiration. They don't outsource their drive. They operate from a standard, a non-negotiable commitment to show up and execute, no matter what mood or obstacle stands in the way. This chapter is about making you unstoppable, not temporarily, but permanently. We're going to build discipline at the identity level, through practical systems, mental rewiring, and behavioral momentum. Section 1. Understand the truth about discipline. Let's start by debunking a myth. Discipline is not about punishment. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when it's uncomfortable, because your future matters more than your feelings. Discipline is not restriction. It's liberation. It's the key to freedom. Freedom from chaos, from inconsistency, from regret. Here's the real truth. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-respect. It says, I value myself enough to follow through. I won't let my weaker impulses run my life. I am in control of me. High achievers don't view discipline as something optional or seasonal. They see it as a sacred contract with their future, with their vision, with their legacy, and they renew that contract daily. Section 2. Set a clear, identity-driven standard. Discipline doesn't stick when it's vague. Most people say things like, I want to work out more, I want to be more productive, I want to stop procrastinating. These are intentions, not standards. A standard is clear, measurable, and identity-based. I train every morning at 6 a.m. for 45 minutes. No exception. I go to bed by 10 p.m. and wake at 5 a.m. to protect my momentum. High achievers don't rely on hope. They build structure, and they build that structure around who they want to become, not how they feel in the moment. Here's how to build your own standard. AK. Choose one area of your life where you know you're inconsistent. Define what discipline looks like in that area, clearly and simply. Connect it to your identity. I am the kind of person who commit to executing it daily, especially when it's inconvenient. It's not the size of the action that matters. It's the consistency of the execution. Section 3. Eliminate negotiation windows. One of the secrets to unstoppable discipline is removing negotiation from the process. Here's what this means. Average performers wake up and decide if they'll follow through. High achievers wake up and execute what they've already decided. There is no mental debate, no delay, no emotional polling. They don't ask, do I feel like working out today? They say, I train. That's who I am. The longer you wait to act, the more time you give your weaker self to speak. So high achievers shorten the gap between intention and action. You can train this by blocking your most important task at the same time every day, setting no-choice rules, example, phones off by 9 p.m., period. Creating rituals that move you into action without thought. Discipline becomes easier when decisions are made in advance. Your future self is counting on you to remove the option of quitting. Section 4. Use the momentum loop. Here's a core truth most people miss. Discipline doesn't come from motivation. Discipline creates motivation. The act of following through, even when you don't want to, creates momentum. And momentum fuels your belief. That belief feeds your identity, and that identity reinforces more disciplined action. This is the momentum loop. Action, momentum, poor belief, identity, more action. Most people wait until they feel ready. High achievers flip the script. They say, I act first. Motivation follows me. Want to train this? Pick a small action, one that requires some resistance, but is easy to complete. Then do it every single day. Not when it's perfect, not when it's convenient, just daily. Each time you follow through, you build the identity of someone who executes, and each repetition strengthens the discipline muscle. Section 5. Master the first 10 minutes. When most people quit on discipline, they're not quitting because it's hard. They're quitting because they never started. The hardest part is the first 10 minutes. Once you start, the resistance fades. The brain shifts into flow. The discomfort becomes manageable. High achievers understand this, so they don't commit to doing everything at once. They commit to doing the first step. Just tie the shoes and step outside. Just open the laptop and start typing. Just sit in silence for the first minute of meditation. Once you've started, your brain begins to adapt. Movement creates ease, and ease creates continuation. So if your mind says, I don't want to do this, reply with, I'll just start for 10 minutes. That's often all it takes to unlock full engagement. Section 6. Create discipline triggers. Discipline thrives on cues and associations. Your brain loves pattern. If you do something consistently in the same way, at the same time with the same surroundings, your brain begins to associate the behavior with the trigger. This is why high achievers use environmental anchors to automate discipline. Examples, aka, always writing at the same desk, with the same playlist, always starting the workout with the same warm-up, always reviewing goals after morning coffee. These cues tell your brain, it's time to focus, it's time to execute. Design your environment to make discipline automatic. Remove friction from your good habits. Add friction to your bad ones. Place visual reminders, whiteboards, quotes, checklists in your work zone. Build start rituals that lock you into focus mode. Your environment is always shaping your behavior. Make sure it's on your side. Section 7. Track discipline with precision. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. High achievers track their discipline like athletes track performance, not for ego, but for accountability. They keep score. Did I follow through on my routine? Did I execute the non-negotiable? Did I win the morning? They use systems, habit trackers, accountability journals, performance calendars. Don't break the chain boards. This isn't about being perfect. It's about noticing the pattern. When you track, you notice slips early. You spot momentum. You create visible proof that discipline is real, not just a wish. Choose one disciplined behavior and track it daily for 30 days. Watch what happens. Section 8. Discipline through identity anchors. When discipline gets hard, and it will, your mind will offer excuses. Just this once won't hurt. You can start again tomorrow. It's okay to take a break. This is when you need to anchor into your why and your who. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to become? How would that person act right now? What will breaking this standard cost me long term? When identity and values lead, excuses shrink. High achievers often create anchor statements, quick phrases that remind them of their commitment. Examples, we don't negotiate with weakness. I show up regardless. Earned, not given. This is the price of my future. Write your own. Repeat it daily. Use it in moments of resistance. Section 9. Build the discipline streak. There's nothing more powerful than a winning streak. Not for ego, but for belief. Once you do something for 3 days in a row, your brain says this is happening. Once you hit 7 days, you feel proud. At 14, you're invested. At 30, You don't want to break it. High achievers use streaks as leverage. Here's how to build yours. Pick one discipline to master. Set a daily version of it. Simple, clear, achievable. Use a visual tracker, calendar, app, whiteboard. If you miss one, never miss two. Celebrate every milestone. Days 7, 14, 21, 30. Your brain loves seeing progress. Give it the proof. Feed the fire. Section 10. Discipline isn't motivation. It's obedience to your standards. One final truth. Discipline is not about hype. It's not about being fired up. It's about keeping your word to yourself when it's the last thing you want to do. High achievers don't rely on being in the mood. They rely on being in alignment with their goals, their identity, their value. Discipline means you do it because it needs to be done, because the mission matters, because your word matters, because the future version of you deserves it. This is not glamorous, but it's rare, and rare is what gets rewarded. Final thoughts. Discipline is not about doing more. It's about doing the right things, with precision and consistency, until your results become inevitable. You are already capable. You already have the fire. Now it's time to build the frame to support that fire. Set your standard. Remove the debate. Act through resistance. Anchor to identity. Stack your wins. Protect the streak. Lead yourself. This is what high achievers do. Not once in a while, but every single day. And now so will you. Part 6. Long-term thinking. Building a legacy. Not just a lifestyle. Most people think in hours and days. High achievers think in decades. While the average person chases comfort and quick wins, those at the top move strategically. Their decisions are built on long-term impact, not instant gratification. That's the key. High achievers live in today, but they operate from the future. They know success isn't about what happens this week. It's about who they're becoming over the next 10 years. Their moves are different. Their patience is deeper. Their discipline is sharper. In this chapter, we'll explore how long-term thinking shifts every part of your life, your goals, habits, priorities, decisions, relationships, and identity. You'll learn how to zoom out, think bigger, and build a life with true compounding power. This isn't just about achieving more. It's about becoming someone who creates something that lasts. Section 1. The problem with short-term thinking. Look around. Most people are chasing the next hit of dopamine, their next like, their next sale, their next validation, their next distraction. Everything is urgent. Nothing is meaningful. This is how people stay stuck. They optimize for comfort instead of growth. They choose instant ease over future strength. They want results without process. Short-term thinking feels good today but costs everything tomorrow. You've seen it at people who start but don't finish. People who grind hard for 3 weeks then disappear. People who never think about legacy because they're consumed by what others think right now. This is reactive living, and reactive living never builds real success. High achievers are different. Section 2. Long-term thinkers play a different game. High achievers are patient, but not passive. They're urgent about execution, but relaxed about results. Here's how they think. What I do today must serve who I want to be 10 years from now. I'm not just building for this season. I'm building for the long haul. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Reputation is more valuable than likes. Legacy beats lifestyle every time. They don't just want to win. They want to win right. That means making decisions that compound, not collapse. It's not about working slow. It's about working smart. It's about building something that doesn't burn out after one good month. That's the shift. From ego to endurance, from sprints to seasons, from excitement to excellence. Section 3. The 10-year filter. To think like a high achiever, install the 10-year filter into your decision-making. Before you say yes, before you post, before you respond, before you quit, ask, will this matter in 10 years? Will my future self be proud of this move? Is this a trade I'll be glad I made 10 years from now? This question rewires your brain to think long-term instantly. Example, the 10-minute argument on social media, not worth it. The hard workout on a cold morning, worth it. The extra hour building a system instead of scrolling, worth it. The late-night compromise on your standards, not worth it. High achievers make moves today that their future selves thank them for. Every choice becomes a brick in the foundation of their legacy. Start filtering your life through time. Make decisions that age well. Section 4. Delay gratification. Multiply results. The ability to delay gratification is the ultimate mental superpower. It means you sacrifice the short-term thrill for the long-term win. Trusts the process even when it's invisible. Think of investing. The person who saves $500 a month for 10 years will outperform the person who spends that money trying to impress people who don't care. Think of health. The person who trains consistently, eats clean and rests well will outlast every shortcut seeker, every fad diet chaser, every 90-day transformation junkie. Think of skill. The person who writes every day for 3 years will master language while others watch motivational videos without ever taking action. Why? Because while others chase events, high achievers commit to process. The reward is always greater when you delay it. Growth compounds. So does self-trust. Section 5. Playing the long game in your habits. High achievers treat every habit as an investment in their future self. They ask, what habits will make my 40s better than my 30s? What habits will make me a stronger leader in 5 years? What habits build who I want to be? They don't fall for hype. They go for habitual excellence. And they know the truth. Most transformation doesn't feel transformational. It feels boring, repetitive, quiet. But that's how compounding works. One clean meal doesn't change your body, but 1,000 will. One focused hour doesn't build an empire, but 10,000 will. One deep conversation doesn't build a legacy, but a lifetime of intentionality will. So they fall in love with repetition. They master the mundane. If you want to think long-term, fall in love with consistency, not variety, not hype, just clear, patient discipline. Section 6. Deliberate practice over random effort. High achievers don't just work hard, they work smart. They practice deliberately, with structure, feedback, and precision. They refine the same skill set again and again, aiming to improve just 1% each time. This separates them from average performers. Here's how they approach mastery. They track their inputs. They review their progress. They measure what matters. They ask for critique. They repeat fundamentals without getting bored. This isn't sexy, but it works. In 5 years, the person who refines one high-leverage skill daily will outperform everyone who dabbled in 10 things for 3 months. Focused excellence compounds. Random motion fades. What skill are you willing to commit to for 5-10 years? That's where your edge will be. Section 7. Build systems, not just hustle. Hard work matters, but hustle without systems is like rowing with one oar. It moves, but you spin in circles. High achievers build systems around their goals. Morning systems, workflow systems, energy systems, decision systems. They understand that willpower fades. Systems last. If you want to operate long-term, automate where you can, simplify what drains you. Design your environment to support your vision. Examples: a calendar system that protects your deep work time, a health system that includes meals, training, hydration and sleep, a relationship system that includes weekly check-ins, gratitude and presence. Systems don't just save time, they multiply results. They create space for creativity, clarity and calm, and they help you play the long game without burning out. Section 8. Build legacy relationships. Thinking long-term also applies to who you surround yourself with. High achievers don't chase connections, they build relationships. They invest in depth over volume, loyalty over novelty, trust over attention. They ask, who do I want in my circle 10 years from now? Who challenges me to be better? Who shares my values, not just my interests? And they show up for people the same way they show up for their goals, with consistency, with presence, with intentionality. They know that when you invest in people, really invest, you create alliances, not just acquaintances. This is how high achievers build networks that last. Not clout circles, not hype squads, but alliances built on mutual elevation. Build with people who think in decades, not drama. Section 9. Think in seasons, not sprints. The long game isn't linear. There are seasons, times of sowing, reaping, rest and reset. High achievers don't resist this, they respect it. They know some seasons are for building, some are for learning, some are for enduring, some are for healing, some are for launching. They don't panic when things slow down. They zoom out, they adjust, they stay the course. If you only think in weeks, a setback feels like the end. But when you think in decades, a rough month is just part of the climb. So think like a farmer. Plant daily, water consistently, be patient, expect growth, but don't force the harvest before it's time. Faith, action, time, inevitable. Section 10. Operate with legacy energy. Finally, the deepest level of long-term thinking is this: live and build in a way that outlives you. Ask yourself, what am I building that will still matter when I'm gone? How do I want to be remembered? Am I living in a way that would make my future family proud? This is about legacy energy. It changes how you show up. You speak with more care. You work with more integrity. You create with more intention. You lead with more depth. Legacy energy quiets the ego. It sharpens the mission. It gives your journey purpose beyond your own success. High achievers think generationally. They don't just ask, how can I win? They ask, how can I build something that helps others win long after I'm gone? This is the final evolution of mindset, from personal gain to eternal impact. Final thoughts. Thinking like a high achiever means zooming out mentally, emotionally, and strategically. You stop playing to impress. You start building to endure. You stop reacting to today. You start preparing for the future. You stop trying to get ahead fast. You start trying to build something that lasts. From this moment on, make this your filter. Will this decision matter 10 years from now? If yes, go all in. If not, let it go. Build habits that compound. Choose people who stretch you. Commit to skills you can master. Play for legacy, not applause. Stay patient, but move daily. The world is noisy, but clarity lives in long-term thinking. Be one of the few who operate from the future, and your future will reward you far beyond your present imagination. Part 7. The Power of Clarity. How high achievers eliminate confusion and move with precision. High achievers are not faster, they are not luckier, they are not always more talented. They are clearer. They don't waste energy questioning every move. They don't get lost in endless options. They don't drift through their day reacting to whatever shows up. They move with intention, with direction, with conviction. That's what clarity gives you. Strip away distractions and lock into what actually matters. Clarity isn't optional, it's foundational. Without clarity, your talent is wasted. Your energy is diluted. Your momentum is broken. But when your mind is clear, everything accelerates. In this chapter, we'll unpack how to think clearly, move precisely, and design your life around what matters most, while cutting out everything else. Section 1. Confusion is the enemy of execution. Let's start here. You don't need more information. You need more clarity. Most people are drowning in inputs. Endless podcasts, posts, books, courses, opinions, dozens of to-do lists, apps, tools, and hacks. Competing goals, ideas, and voices in their heads. And the result? Paralysis. Too many options. No decision. Too much information. No action. Too many ideas. No results. High achievers don't suffer from this, not because they have less to manage, but because they manage it differently. They treat confusion as a threat, something to eliminate as fast as possible, because they know confusion kills momentum. Momentum creates results. Therefore, clarity is a superpower. If you've been stuck, scattered, overwhelmed, or inconsistent, it's probably not a discipline issue. It's a clarity issue. Most people never get clear because they're afraid of being too specific. They don't want to limit themselves. They don't want to commit. So they keep things vague. I want to be successful. I want to make more money. I want to feel better. But these aren't goals, they're wishes. High achievers define what they want in vivid detail. Instead of I want to be successful, they say, I want to be earning 250 cows a year, doing meaningful creative work I control by age. Instead of I want to be healthier, they say, I want to weigh 85 plebs with 12% body fat, Sleep 7 hours and train 5 by 5 cheek consistently year-round. Clarity creates power. Power creates movement. Until you name your outcome clearly, your brain has nothing to lock on to. Vagueness equals friction. Precision equals flow. Section 3. Create a personal clarity compass. High achievers don't wait for clarity. They build it. They do this by creating what I call a clarity compass. A simple framework for evaluating every opportunity, goal and decision. It's built around 4 elements. Values. What truly matters to me. Vision. Where do I want to be in 3-5 years? Standards. What am I no longer willing to tolerate? Priorities. What are the top 1-3 things I must execute right now? Let's break this down. Values. These are your filters, your non-negotiables, the deeper principles you won't violate. The freedom and impact, excellence, integrity, growth, health. Write your top 3. Define what they mean to you. 2. Vision. This is your direction, your desired future. It should be clear enough to visualize and measurable enough to track. Ask. Dark. What do I want my life to look like in 3-5 years? What am I building and why? 3. Standards. These are your rules, the floor beneath which you will not operate. Things like, I don't miss morning training. I don't work with people who drain my energy. I don't chase, only create. 4. Priorities. These are the things you act on today. No more than 3. Everything else is noise. Clarity comes from alignment. When your decisions align with your values, vision and standards, you move without hesitation. Section 4. Subtract to simplify. You don't need more goals. You need fewer distractions. Most people try to do too much at once. Add a monitor, build a business, get in shape, improve their relationships, read 20 books, meditate daily, learn 3 new skills. Ambitious? Yes. Effective? No. Because focus doesn't mean doing everything. It means doing the right things now. High achievers are ruthless editors of their own life. They subtract aggressively. They ask, what am I doing that doesn't align with my vision? What can I stop doing without consequence? Where am I spending energy that doesn't create momentum? You don't scale your life by adding. You scale it by simplifying. Subtraction is strategy. Section 5. Kill mental clutter. Clarity is mental real estate. Most people's minds are cluttered, filled with half-finished ideas, unmade decisions, emotional loops and open tabs. This slows everything down. If your mind is cluttered, here's how to clean it. 1. Brain dump weekly. Write down everything on your mind. No structure, no filter, just get it out. Then categorize. Important now. Delegate, delete, delete. Schedule later. Close open loops. Unmade decisions drain your energy. Make them quickly, or schedule when you will. 3. Declutter inputs. Unfollow accounts that confuse you. Stop consuming without applying. Pick one mentor, one book, one framework. Go deep. 4. Journal for clarity. Ask daily. Monitor. Stop tolerating. What outcome am I avoiding because I haven't defined it? What's one thing I can simplify today? Clarity isn't something you find. It's something you create daily. Section 6. Break big goals into micro actions. Another cause of confusion is overwhelm. People see a big goal and freeze. I start? Where do I even begin? High achievers break everything down. They don't chase outcomes. They build processes. Example Tayo. Goal. Launch a new brand in 6 months. Breakdown. Week 1. Define mission. Audience problem. Week 2. Develop name, logo, brand voice. Week 3-4. Build MVP offer or product. Week 5. Set up marketing pipeline. Week 6. Launch pre-sales. Then further. Monday. Write brand story. Tuesday. Draft product outline. Wednesday. Meet with designer. Big becomes small. Small becomes clear. Clear becomes possible. If it's overwhelming, it's probably not broken down enough. Section 7. Build a clear weekly execution plan. Clarity means knowing exactly what you need to do this week. High achievers use weekly war plans to dominate their goals. Here's a simple template. Audiobooks simple template. Top 3 priorities. What must move forward this week? Key projects and actions. What specific tasks drive those priorities? Blocks of time. When exactly will I do them? Non-negotiables. Health, family, mindset rituals. Noise to eliminate. What distractions must I avoid? Each Sunday or Monday, they plan it. Each morning, they review it. No guesswork, no hesitation, just execution. Do this consistently, and your weeks become weapons. Section 8. Communicate with clarity. Clarity isn't just for your own mind. It's how you. Poor communication leads to confusion, misalignment, conflict, wasted time. High achievers, they speak directly. They set clear expectations, say what they mean, ask for exactly what they need. They use clear language, they cut fluff, they don't hide behind vagueness or politeness. If you want high-performance relationships, business deals, teams or partnerships, clarity must lead. Ask yourself, before any meeting, email or conversation, what is the outcome I want? What is the one thing this person needs to understand? Clarity creates trust. Vagueness creates doubt. Section 9. Say no with confidence. One of the boldest clarity moves is learning to say no. High achievers say no more than they say yes, because they know every yes to the wrong thing is a no to the right thing. They aren't rude, they're precise, their time is protected, their energy is guarded, their calendar reflects their mission, not other people's urgency. Here's how to build this muscle. Big thanks for thinking of me, but I'm focused on X right now. I can't commit fully, so I'll pass this time. That's not aligned with my current priorities. No apology, no guilt, just clarity. Say no often enough, and your yes becomes powerful. Section 10. Review, refine, realign. Clarity isn't a one-time download. It's a daily decision and a weekly discipline. High achievers regularly. They reflect on what's working, review what's not, refine their goals, realign their focus. They don't fear change, they embrace adjustment. Here's a weekly clarity check-in. See what moved me forward this week. What distracted me? What did I learn about what matters? What must change next week? Clarity compounds. Each cycle builds more precision, more momentum, and more control. Final thoughts. Confusion isn't harmless. It's a hidden killer of potential. But clarity turns vision into strategy, strategy into execution, execution into results. You don't need more time. You need a sharper target. You don't need more motivation. You need more direction. You don't need more effort. You need more clarity. From this day forward, see what you want. Define exactly how to win. Say no to everything else. Move like a weapon. Clean, precise, focused. That's how high achievers think. That's how they win. And now, so will you. Part 8. Emotional Mastery. How high achievers stay calm, focused, and powerful under pressure. High achievers are not fearless. They are not immune to pressure. They don't live stress-free lives, but they've trained themselves to stay composed, focused, and strategic, even when chaos erupts. While others react emotionally, high achievers respond intelligently. While others spiral, they anchor. While others escape, they face reality, with clarity, with strength, with action. This is the difference. Most people are ruled by emotions. High achievers rule through their emotions. They've built a level of internal control that allows them to operate with clarity under stress, recover quickly from setbacks, and stay aligned with their mission regardless of circumstance. That's what this chapter is about. Emotional mastery. Not suppressing feelings, but channeling them. Not avoiding pain, but transforming it into power. Not pretending to be unshakable, but becoming unbreakable. Let's dive deep into how the top 1% master their emotions to lead themselves and others through adversity. Section 1. Emotions are signals, not commands. The average person treats emotion like truth. They feel angry, so they lash out. They feel anxious, so they retreat. They feel discouraged, so they give up. But high achievers have a different relationship with emotion. They understand that emotion is not instruction. Emotion is information. Anger signals a boundary was crossed. Fear signals uncertainty. Anxiety signals the need for preparation. Sadness signals a loss. But they don't obey these emotions blindly. They interpret them. They reflect on them. They extract the message, then act based on values, not impulses. This is emotional maturity. And emotional maturity is the gateway to mental greatness. If you can feel everything, but still move in the direction of your mission, you are already ready. Section 2. Reclaiming response power. High achievers have a powerful mindset. I can't always control what happens, but I control how I respond. They don't give their emotional state away to traffic, emails, if the negative people, bad news, temporary losses. They protect their state, and when something shakes it, they center themselves fast. You can train this by building your response gap. This is the space between stimulus and action. When something triggers you, move with clarity, not reactivity. This one shift separates leaders from followers, high performance from chaos, clarity from confusion. Because the reason most people don't follow through isn't logic, it's feelings. I don't feel like working out. I don't feel confident enough to launch. I feel overwhelmed, so I'll avoid it. High achievers don't make feelings the boss. They build emotional discipline, the ability to feel something, but not obey it blindly. They feel fear, but take the call. They feel tired, but execute the plan. They feel uncertain, but show up anyway. They ask, what would the strongest version of me do right now? And then they do that. You can train this like a muscle. Every time you act in spite of emotion, you gain emotional strength, and over time, it becomes your default. Section 4. Emotional awareness builds mental armor. You can't master what you don't monitor. High achievers are hyper-aware of their internal state. They know their triggers, patterns, and emotional responses. They check in. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? Where in my body am I holding this emotion? This isn't soft, it's strategy. Because awareness leads to intervention, and intervention leads to redirection. They also name their emotions clearly, not just I feel bad, but I feel anxious because I'm not prepared. I feel insecure because I compared myself. I feel frustrated because I violated my own standard. Once it's named, it's no longer in control. Now you are. Section 5. Training your nervous system for resilience. Your body responds to pressure before your mind does. Your heart rate spikes, breathing shortens, focus narrows, logic fades. High achievers train their nervous system to stay calm in pressure. How? 1. Breathwork. The fastest way to regulate your emotions is to regulate your breath. Try this. 4-second inhale, 6-second exhale. Repeat for 5 minutes. This activates your parasympathetic system, your calm mode. 2. Cold exposure. Cold showers or ice baths trigger stress, but in a controlled way. They teach your body to stay calm under discomfort. Meditation, daily practice, builds awareness and detachment. You observe thoughts instead of becoming them. 4. Controlled exposure. Do hard things on purpose. Speak in public. Train when tired. Launch before ready. Your brain adapts. You're not born with resilience. You build it, 1 rep at a time. Section 6. Detachment from outcomes. High achievers want to win, but they don't worship the outcome. They operate with detachment. This doesn't mean they don't care. It means they don't collapse if the outcome shifts. Don't overreact to temporary failure or success. They focus on what they can control: their effort, their preparation, their standards, their attitude, and they let the rest unfold. This gives them mental freedom because they aren't owned by the outcome. They're aligned with the process. If you want to think like a high achiever, stop obsessing over guarantees, obsess over execution. Section 7. Turning emotional pain into power. Emotional mastery doesn't mean avoiding pain. It means transmuting pain. Every high achiever has faced heartbreak, betrayal, embarrassment, fear, failure, but they don't stay there. They channel it. They turn breakdowns into breakthroughs, pain into purpose, setbacks into strategy. How? 1. They ask better questions. How can I use this pain to grow? So, who can I help with this story one day? 2. They write it out. They write it out. Journaling brings logic to emotion. It clears the storm. It builds perspective. 3. They move through it. Exercise, deep work, be up, creation. They don't suppress it. They move with it. Pain isn't the problem. Your response is. Section 8. Mastering conflict without losing control. High achievers face conflict head-on, but they stay composed. They don't shout to be heard, attack when triggered, avoid the hard conversations. They lead with emotional intelligence. Here's their approach. Eddie Reich. Stay curious, not combative. Help me understand where you're coming from. Own their emotional state. I'm frustrated because I expected X. Separate person from behavior. I respect you, but this action wasn't aligned. Anchor in facts, not feelings. Let's look at what actually happened. Conflict doesn't break them. It sharpens them because they're not afraid of tension. They're afraid of misalignment. Section 9. Emotional recovery. Bounce back fast. Emotional mastery is not about never breaking down. It's about bouncing back faster each time. High achievers have recovery protocols. They don't spiral for weeks. They recover in hours. Here's how. 1. Debrief the event. What happened? What did I control? What will I do better? 2. Move the body. Okay. 4. What did I control? What will I do better? 2. Move the body. Okay. 4. Go for a run. Lift weights. Walk outside. Motion moves emotion. 3. Reset inputs. They feed their brain clean fuel. 4. Connect to mission. They remind themselves this is part of it. Adversity is fuel. This story isn't over. They reset. They refocus. Section 10. Lead your emotions. Lead your life. The ultimate truth is this. If you can't lead yourself emotionally, you will never lead anyone else powerfully. High achievers don't wait to feel right. They decide to act right. They don't react to pressure. They perform under it. They don't escape their emotions. They master them. And that's the new standard. From this day forward. Name your emotions. Don't be ruled by them. Pause before you respond. Don't give away your power. Train your nervous system. Stay calm under fire. Detach from outcomes. Focus on your craft. Channel pain. Use it as fuel, not an excuse. Recover fast. Bounce back stronger. Lead yourself. Then lead others. This is emotional mastery. This is mental power. This is how high achievers operate. Not occasionally, but always. And now, so will you.
Part 9. Relentless consistency. How high achievers execute every day no matter what. High achievers don't win because they have more talent. They win because they keep showing up long everyone else stopped. Consistency is the backbone of every breakthrough. It's the reason the average become exceptional. It's how the 1% separate themselves from the 9. But here's what most people get wrong. They chase motivation. High achievers chase momentum. Most people wait until they feel ready, inspired, energized. High achievers show up whether they feel like it or not. They understand something fundamental. Feelings are fleeting. Emotions are unstable. But systems, rituals, and identity, those are durable. This chapter will show you exactly how to build the mindset of unstoppable consistencies. Design daily systems that make follow-through automatic. Eliminate excuses, resistance, and burnout. Build unstoppable momentum, day after day, month after month. Let's break it all down. Section 1. Why most people fail to stay consistent. Most people don't lack potential, they lack follow-through. Here's why they break consistency. They rely on motivation. They set unrealistic expectations. They focus on intensity instead of sustainability. They get bored with repetition. They attach their identity to performance, not process. But consistency requires something deeper: emotional detachment from the outcome, internal discipline rooted in identities, systems that don't require constant willpower. High achievers know this. That's why they don't wait to feel good to act. They move regardless. That's what you'll now train yourself to do. I do it because it's who I am. They've moved beyond behavior-based motivation into identity-based action. I am an athlete, so I train. I am a professional, so I deliver. I am a builder, so I create daily. I am disciplined, so I execute, period. This is how they maintain consistency. They don't argue with themselves. They don't negotiate with laziness. They act in alignment with who they've chosen to become. If you're struggling with follow-through, ask yourself, what identity am I reinforcing each day? Am I acting like the future version of me? What would the most consistent version of me do next? Your habits follow your identity, so build the identity that leads your actions. Section 3. The power of ritual over routine. High achievers don't rely on generic routine. They build rituals deeply personal, emotionally charged sequences that trigger peak behavior. What's the difference? A routine is a checklist. A ritual is a mindset trigger. For example, aching at 5 a.m. becomes a ritual of self-leadership. Pre-work meditation becomes a ritual of clarity. Daily journaling becomes a ritual of alignment. These rituals signal, I am now stepping into my highest self. No excuses. To build your own, ask, what 3 actions do I need to start my day in control? What small ritual can signal it's time to work, train, focus? How can I emotionally anchor this routine to my identity? Example: morning ritual. Wake at the same time daily. 10 minutes of silence. Meditation, prayer, deep breathing, journal. Top 3 goals and affirmations. Physical movement, walk, stretch or workout. Begin high-leverage task. Ritual makes repetition sacred. It removes decision fatigue and builds unstoppable consistency. Section 4. Set non-negotiables, not wish lists. High achievers don't treat habits like suggestions. They treat them like non-negotiable laws. They don't try to work out. They train no matter the mood. They don't hope to write today. They write because that's the standard. Most people create wish lists. I hope to read more. I'll try to eat better. I need to be more consistent. High achievers set commands. This is what I do, no debate. To do this, I define 2-3 non-negotiable daily behaviors. Keystone actions. Schedule them. Protect them. Automate them. Hold yourself accountable, ruthless. Examples. 45 minutes deep work by 9 a.m. 1 hour of physical training daily. 30 minutes of strategic review before sleep. These aren't goals. They're the bare minimum operating standard. You rise by what you tolerate. So set standards that force you to rise. Section 5. Create a personal execution system. High achievers don't leave execution to chance. They engineer it. They build systems that make it easier to act than to avoid. Here's a framework to create your own. Time block the essentials. Block your most important task first in the day. Batch tasks to reduce context switching. Protect your energy windows. 2. Use environmental triggers. Lay out your workout clothes before bed. Keep distractions off your phone screen. Design your workspace for focus. 3. Track behavior daily. Use habit trackers or journals. Score yourself 1 to 10 on key habits. Review weekly for trends. 4. Attach consequences. Reward consistency, even small win. Penalize avoidance, miss. No social media. $10 to charity, etc. Execution is rarely about effort. It's about removing friction and designing for follow-through. Section 6. Fall in love with boring. This is the truth nobody wants to hear. Greatness is boring. Mastery is repetitive. Consistency isn't exciting. It's effective. High achievers do the same core actions. Daily planning, daily reading, daily working out, daily content creations, daily recovery rituals. They don't chase novelty. They chase improvement. They know excitement fades. Results last. Boredom is a signal of progress, not failure. If it's too exciting, it's probably not sustainable. The average person gives up when things get boring. The elite double down. If you can fall in love with repetition, you'll rise above 95% of people without talent, money or connection. Section 7. Track streaks and stack wins. One of the most powerful tools for consistency is momentum tracking. High achievers track Makey, workout streaks, published, hours in deep work, revenue milestones, books read, days without breaking the chain. This builds visible momentum, which increases confidence. Try this. Makey. Get a wall calendar. Every day you complete your non-negotiables. Mark a red X. Your only job. Don't break the chain. Over time. Makey. 1 becomes 5. 5 becomes 30. 30 becomes identity. Stack small wins. Watch your mindset shift from "I hope I can do this" to "this is just what I do." Section 8. Use the rule of one more. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about resilience. When high achievers feel resistance, they use one of their most powerful tools, the rule of one more day. Even when tired, even when unmotivated, they override their feelings and choose progress. This isn't about burnout. It's about mental reprogramming. Every time you do one more, you teach your mind, "I'm not like everyone else. Make this your mantra. I don't quit at hard. I grow through hard. I grow through hard. I grow through hard." Section 9. Make recovery part of consistency. Here's what people forget. Rest is part of discipline. High achievers don't grind until they collapse. They schedule recovery like they schedule execution. Because a burned-out mind can't sustain consistency. Because energy is a weapon. Because peak performance requires deep restoration. Their recovery systems: sleep 7-8 hours minimum. Unplug from screens after work. Take recovery walks. Deload their nervous system. Meditation, deep breathing, etc. Take weekly resets. No work, full presence. They don't feel guilty for rest. They earn it, and they need it. You can't pour from an empty mind. Recover like a pro. Section 10. Master the get back up system. Even high achievers slip, but what separates them is how fast they return to consistency. Most people miss one day, feel guilty, miss another, quit. High achievers miss one day, review, reset, get back on track immediately. Here's their get back up protocol. Acknowledge the break without shame. I slipped. I'm human. Identify the cause. Was it emotional, logistical, environmental? Realign the process. What change will help prevent this again? Restart with a small win. Just one action today to reset the momentum. Consistency doesn't mean never failing. It means never staying down. Fall 7 times. Rise 8. That's how the 1% operate. Final thoughts. Consistency is the engine of every high performer's success. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to feel amazing every day. You don't need to crush 100 tasks at once. You just need to show up every single day. From this day forward, decide who you are. Set your non-negotiables. Build rituals that trigger action. Automate your execution environment. Fall in love with repetition. Because when consistency becomes part of your identity, success becomes inevitable. The world doesn't reward talent. It rewards those who refuse to disappear. Now it's your turn. Show up, lock in, and never miss twice.
Part 10. Becoming the architect of your life. Cementing the high achiever's mindset for life. You've made it to the end. But really, this is the beginning. Everything we've explored until now, mindset, identity, clarity, discipline, consistency, emotional mastery, execution, it all leads to this truth. You are the architect of your life. Your mind is the blueprint, and your actions are the bricks. High achievers don't just think differently, they build differently. They're not waiting for opportunity, they create it. They're not chasing balance, they define their own version of success. They're not trying to impress, they're trying to become. The final step in thinking like a high achiever is owning every piece of your existence. No more outsourcing responsibility, no more blaming circumstance, no more hoping things will change. It's time to become the deliberate designer of your future. Let's cement everything we've covered into a living, breathing operating system that carries you through every challenge, every season, every evolution of your life. Section 1. Ownership is your foundation. High achievers operate from a singular principle that shapes everything. If it's in my life, I created it. If I didn't create it, I allowed it. This level of ownership is rare, and it's powerful, because ownership gives you agency. Agency gives you choice. Choice gives you power. Whether it's your income, health, relationships, energy, mindset, or trajectory, it's all on you. That's not pressure, that's freedom. When you take full ownership, there is no they, no blaming, no waiting, no rescuing, just you, choosing, creating, leading. This shift is essential. Until you own everything, you can't change anything. Section 2. Integrate. Don't just consume. You've listened to hours of material, read thousands of words, absorbed ideas, strategies, beliefs. But here's the truth. Nothing changes until you integrate. Knowledge without action is just mental entertainment. High achievers don't hoard knowledge. They implement relentlessly. They apply what they learn. They test. They adjust. They live the content. So the question now is, what are you going to apply daily from this audiobook? What habits will you integrate? What mindsets will you internalize? What identities will you reinforce? Pick 3 powerful shifts you're committed to living, not just remembering. Because transformation doesn't come from knowing. It comes from embodying. Section 3. Build your Furner operating system. This is how high achievers stay aligned. They run their life on a deliberate operating system, a set of principles, systems, and habits that keep them on track, no matter what life throws at them. Here's how to build yours. Core identity statement. Who are you becoming? What do you stand for? I am a disciplined, clear-minded, emotionally intelligent leader who executes daily and leads with integrity. Write yours, memorize it, embody it. Non-negotiables. List 3-5 behaviors you commit to daily or weekly, no exceptions. Examples. Weekly review ritual. Every Sunday ask, what worked last week? What didn't? AD. Where did I drift? What must improve? What's the focus for next week? This keeps you sharp, honest, aligned. 4. Decision filters. High achievers don't chase every opportunity. They use filters like, does this align with my mission? Does this energize or drain me? Is this the highest use of my time? Design your filters. Live by them. Section 4. Live with standards, not feelings. The ultimate upgrade is moving from emotion-based living to standards-based living. Most people live like this. If I feel tired, I rest. If I feel insecure, I hide. If I feel overwhelmed, I avoid. High achievers live like this. Regardless of how I feel, I act in alignment with my standards. And those standards are high. They've been chosen, reinforced, protected. Ask yourself, what are my personal standards for health, focus, finances, relationships, execution? Am I honoring them or making excuses? Then raise them, lock them in, let your life rise to meet them. Section 5. Embrace identity evolution. High achievers constantly outgrow who they used to be. They're not clinging to the past. They're not defending their ego. They're evolved. Version 1.0 of you can't carry the weight of a version 5. If you're becoming someone new, it's going to feel unfamiliar, uncomfortable, even unnatural. That's growth. Let go of old identities. I'm not a morning person. Old stories. I always give up eventually. Old limitations. I don't have time, money, confidence. Replace them with, I'm the kind of person who finishes what I train my mind and body like a pro. I adapt. I evolve. I execute. You don't just think like a high achiever. You become one. Section 6. Lead others by leading yourself. Now that you've upgraded your own thinking, the next step is expansion. High achievers don't just lead themselves. They elevate everyone around them. They become role models by action, leaders by character, mentors by presence, visionaries by courage. But it starts with you, how you speak, how you think, how you respond, how you carry yourself. You don't need a title to lead, you just need alignment. People follow those who are clear, grounded and consistent. So become someone worth following by mastering yourself daily. Section 7. Design your future intentionally. Most people let life happen to them. High achievers design it. They sit down and write their future, not just goals, vision. Try this exercise. 1. Fast forward 3 years. Where are you living? What does a typical day look like?